last night? Was Paul awesome or what? Oh, I tell you what.
He won.
Awesome.
He won.
He
He
won.
won. We're winning this election. We're going to carry right through till tomorrow night. I want to challenge each and every one of you to think of your family, friends, and neighbors. Just get one. Get two. We have got to multiply our efforts, and by bringing our family, friends, and neighbors along, we will do great things here in South Carolina. I'm Danny Verdon. I represent a Senate district up in the northwest part of the state. And the highlight of my political life, I've served 12 years, but the highlight of my political life has been the association with Dr. Paul's campaign, and I've only been on board 3 days. I wish I'd been on board for 3 months. But I believe this man has the vision to put America back on track. I know each and every one of you believe that in your hearts. And we are going to see this thing through.
We are. Yes.
Tom Davis, one of my colleagues in the state senate. He's going to introduce Dr. Paul, and I can't tell you how thankful I am to know that there are like-minded people in this country that are catching the vision for making America great again. We are seeing this thing through tomorrow night. Let's finish strong. Tom Davis.
Floyd County Ron Paul country or what? You know what? I've been watching these debates for the last several months, and I'm tired of politicians standing up there telling how they're going to make my life better.
Right.
How they're going to do this new program to make my life better, to make my family better, to make my prosperity greater. Right. It isn't about government officials. It's not about elected officials. There's one candidate talking about getting government out of the way and letting people take care of their own lives, because that is a true source of prosperity, and that is Dr. Ron Paul, and that's why I'm $15 trillion worth of debt, over $100 trillion worth of unfunded liabilities. We are going to bankrupt this country. The biggest threat to our national security is a bankrupt country, and only one politician recognizes that. Only one politician is talking about actually cutting spending, cutting departments, returning power to the people. It is the champion of the Constitution and the next President of the United States, Dr. Ron Paul.
President Paul! President Paul! President Paul! President Paul! President Paul! President Paul! President Paul!
I certainly want to thank our two senators for coming and endorsing me and working so hard, Senator Davis and Senator
And I'll put it in the Sun News.
But also I want to introduce somebody else that I've known for a long time. Matter of fact, even longer than I've been married to her. I've been married to her almost 55 years. Wow. But we actually met in high school. First date I had with her, she was only 4 years old. But she was also born on leap year. So, but I married her because I only had to buy her a present every 4 years.
Oh,
and
nice.
She says, my fun. This is my wife Carol over here. I always know when I have to buy a present, there's an election going on. So anyway, thank you very much for coming out. It's been exciting. It's getting more exciting. And so far, we've done pretty well. Iowa, we did okay. We did better in New Hampshire. And if we continue to momentum, we're going to do extremely well tomorrow night with your help. We had some very good meetings so far. The turnouts have been great. I did read a little thing on my email just a little while ago on the internet, and it said that another candidate was supposed to be giving a speech today, but it was canceled because nobody turned out. But it is great to come out because our turnouts have been very, very good, and the enthusiasm is there. And we're going to make about 6 stops like this. They're short, and I know you come out for a few minutes, but it does a whole lot for us and builds the enthusiasm. But the real bottom line is how many people are going to turn out tomorrow.
A lot.
I have spent a lot of time in my life talking about the issues, and guess what? I'm going to continue to talk about the issues. That's what drives me. And that's where we have lacked in this country. We have forgotten about the principles that have made the country great. We need this restoration of these principles Otherwise, things are going to get worse rather than better. But I sense that things are shifting and things are about to get better. And the principles aren't that complicated. You know, I frequently refer to what happened when the Soviet system collapsed. That was a predictable event. Sound free market economics can predict bubbles and these bubbles that have to burst. And matter of fact, Mises, the great Austrian economist, predicted the failure of socialism, the failure of communism. And although he didn't live to see it, it was a natural consequence. But that consequence was a great burden to their society because they did not have the background that we have. So we have a crisis to face. We will not see the continuation of deficit financing, borrowing money, and printing money. It just won't work. The people finally get fed up because they can't afford it, and they get sick and tired of their freedoms being taken away. So they had a lot more difficult time to adjust. We don't have that same crisis. But what we have to do is be prepared. Because if we continue to do this, we have two choices. One, we can work our way out of this, and this is what I propose and would do, you know, to cut the spending, starting by cutting $1 trillion in 1 year. And of course, reducing the tax and all these things. And we could work our way out of it. The odds are pretty tough against that, but that doesn't mean that we should be diminished in our enthusiasm. Because one way or the other, we have to stop it, whether we can do it gradually, or if there is a more major crisis than we have now, it becomes riskier, but more necessary that we have people like you out there knowing what we have to do to support these views. And the whole thing is this whole entitlement system has failed, and people are recognizing it. Even those who are receiving the entitlements, they know we're bankrupt, and those who have been paying for them are sick and tired of paying for them. So we'll have to do something, and this is the reason that our efforts are so important. But we don't have to invent anything. All we have to do is look to our traditions, because we were very blessed in this country. We had a lot of natural resources, but the best resource was the founders' understanding about what freedom was all about, how important property was, how important sound money was, and for that reason we became the wealthiest country in the world. We're still very wealthy today, but it's based on debt, and that's the big difference. And that's only occurred here in the last 30 or 40 years, where it shifted from real wealth to debt wealth, and that, of course, occurred after we severed our link of a dollar to gold, and that meant we were able to print our way into pseudo-prosperity. But this is the climax is here, and the biggest goal that we have is to preserve our liberties. See, if we have an economic crisis much worse than there is a collapse of the system, we preserve our liberties. I mean, it wouldn't take us that long. Just think, if the government was out of our way, protecting our property, protecting our contracts, had sound money, had a sensible foreign policy that you got to keep what you earned, we'd all be back on our feet again in a year, and I think you know, John Adams once said that one of the greatest dangers is that we wouldn't keep our republic, as Benjamin Franklin warned us about drifting into a democracy. The founders were very, very negative on democracy, where the majority can rule and the majority dictates what rights mean and the majority can transfer wealth. And this is essentially what's happened. We don't have the Republican form of government. We don't honor and respect property rights and individual rights. What we have is a democracy where majorities rule, and what does that breed? It breeds the entitlement system. It also breeds the notion that the responsibility of the government is to transfer wealth and pass out favors. So what do we have? We have money running the game, whether it's in financing of the campaigns or the lobbyists in Washington, because it's more valuable, it's more important for them to influence and control government. So it has turned into a major mess. And what Adam said is his democracies waste, and then after the waste, they eventually just go into like committing suicide. He calls the word murder. The democracy murders itself, and so it's totally destructive. And this is what I'm witnessing. You know, it's destructive in the sense that we spend so much money overseas. Does it give us a better defense and more peace? No. It bankrupts us and gives us perpetual war. If it comes to protecting us here at home, oh, well, sacrifice a little bit of liberty for security. Yeah, the Patriot really makes us secure. It undermines and takes away our liberty. And then this whole idea that we are going to have the government provide our wealth by just borrowing more money and printing more money. It's all coming to an end. But fortunately, all we have to do is look to our traditions. I am convinced we got into this mess because we had very little respect as a nation and as a people and as our representatives. Little respect for the Constitution, and if we got into trouble that way, why would it be so complicated on what to do? Why don't we just send people to Washington that know and understand and believe in the Constitution? So we will have a tremendous amount of responsibility, and yet tomorrow is a very important day. It isn't the end, the total. It's not the end of the campaign. It's not the end of our efforts, no matter what. But it is very important because I believe the freedom movement has been building momentum. It's been alive and well for 3 or 4 decades, but it's been undermined by those who resent the fact that people are supposed to take care of themselves rather than the government. But in the last 4 years, there's been an outreach program where numerous number of billion people, not in the hundreds of thousands, but now literally in the millions of people now that are recognizing what we have to do. So the enthusiasm is there, the momentum will continue, but it's very important that we do well. So whatever you can do in these last hours makes a big difference. It sends a powerful message. You know, the pundits, the people who rig the polling, and the people who seem to have a lot of control of mainstream media, they're not always right, as you know.
That's right. Hallelujah.
So we have to do everything we possibly can do with the belief and conviction that freedom really is what America is all about. And also, I think the most important thing about what freedom does, it brings people together. It doesn't tell you how to use your freedom or how to spend your money, but we come together because we all universally want our freedoms to run our lives, our religious lives, our intellectual lives, our personal lives, on our own, and to spend our money the way we want to spend. But if we accept that, we have to accept the responsibility that if things don't go quite well, you can't go back to democracy and say, well, we got a majority now who says that we will demand to be taken care of and we will take from those who have. Freedom is responsibility as well, and I am encouraged to tell you that I talk to the next generation constantly, and they're understanding this issue, and they're welcoming
Yes.
We will be able to say hello to a few, and we're ready to move on to our next appointment and getting on the airplane. But thank you very much for coming out, and thank you for the support, and thank you for being with us in the cause of liberty.